podcast. I'm your host, Alex Monaco, chilling with a special guest. He's one of the thought leaders in the Instagram meme world. It's Tank Sinatra. Thanks so much for joining me all the way from Long Island. How are we doing this afternoon?
I'm good, man. I'm cold. I'm not gonna lie.
There's a little bit of a blizzard going on right now, yeah?
Yo, that was the weakest blizzard ever. It was just a gross storm. It was supposed to be 2 feet of snow, which, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen 2 feet of snow, but it looks cool for at least a day. It looks nice, and it's a blanket of snow on the ground. But this was like 3 inches of snow, and then and rain, and it just froze. And I was out shoveling, and it was like, I don't know. It wasn't even shoveling. I was just pushing water around. It was very strange, and it was a wintry mix, they call it, which is like the worst weather you could possibly imagine.
Well, didn't they drummed up a name for it, didn't they? They were thinking about
like Ariel or something like that.
How did they decide? So you just said it's a weak blizzard. How do they decide how severe the blizzard is based off should they give it a name or not? Obviously, being in New York, you're getting all kinds of weather all winter long.
Well, what they do is I remember the first storm that I know of that they named. It was Nemo. It was like 4 or 5 years ago, and everyone was so funny because of the fish.
Right.
But this storm. So I have a friend who works in air traffic control, and I asked him, and I said, "Yo, what's up with the weather? Like, why don't they just know what's going to happen? How come they can't figure it out?" And he said, "Well, actually, 36 hours out, they're like almost 100% sure of what's going to go on. 72 hours is a little gray area, and when they're talking about a week, they have no idea what's going on." So I said, all right, cool. Because 36 hours out from the storm, even 12 hours out from the storm, they were saying it's going to be 2 feet of snow. And then, listen, I'm not one of those people who thinks weathermen lie. I'm not like an idiot. I think that they're doing the best with whatever technology they have, and sometimes the technology is wrong because nature is nature, and nature does what it wants, doesn't care.
I hear you. Well, I'm excited to have you on the podcast. Obviously, good timing. I know. Let's quick shout out to your podcast, the Think Tank, which is very creative. Obviously, play on words with your name. What gave you the inspiration to want to do this? Obviously, with your friend Dom.
Well, first of all, I've always wanted to be in a think tank. I thought that was like the coolest job ever growing up, because I knew that there was people that just sat around and thought about shit. And I was like, I could do that. I do that anyway. But so listen, I'm a big fan of podcasts in general. I like the fact that I can listen to them whenever I want. I like the fact that I can pause them and come back to them if I get bored with whatever topic is going on. But then a couple of days later, I'll say, oh, you know what? Maybe that was interesting. I want to hear that. And the wealth of information in the podcast world is it's endless. It's just, and more podcasts are starting every day. So not that I wanted to get a piece of that pie. I just felt like, so I make these memes, right? And being that I have this book coming out, it's become apparent to me that people think that if you do one thing, then that's the only thing you can do.
Right.
Which is like crazy to me, because I've been posting some excerpts from my book in graphic format, and people are like, yeah, don't you make memes? And it's like, yeah, bro, like, what do you think? I just sit around and think about making memes all day? I have a whole life outside of making memes. Even the funniest person alive, let's use, for example, I don't know, Brian Regan. He's one of my favorite comedians ever.
Sensational. I do stand up, by the way, so I'm a sponge with all these guys.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So I love comedy. I did stand up for about a year. I've been thinking about getting back to it.
Ooh, let's go.
Let's say Brian Regan, he's not Brian Regan on stage 24 hours a day. He's a human being. So if somebody meets him and he's not cracking jokes, do they think, wow, dude, you're so different than I thought? Like, go fuck yourself, bro. I'm who I am. You know what I mean?
Well, in regards to substance on the pod, I know you said you recorded it in the middle of the night, but I thought the energy was great. I learned like 2 or 3 things. I'm rethinking Samoas now. Obviously, you're right. One of the most well-layered Girl Scout cookies out there. And in regards to like a premise for a stand-up bit, what your pops told you about saying how are you to people or what's up as opposed to hello, that's funny and it's true. So I got some good tips from this. So I appreciated episode 1.
What's up almost got me killed in St. Martin.
You want to touch on that a little bit?
Well, like I said, I was walking through, St. Martin is a Caribbean island, and it's, the brochures are nice and the website is nice, but,
Right.
After 10, 11 o'clock, it's just like any other Caribbean island. It's East Indian people drinking, smoking weed, being human beings. And I was out with my sister, and we were walking home from the bar, going to the hotel, and I walked past a bunch of dudes, and I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And I said it like that, but what's up is just a very, like, if I was gonna fight somebody, if I was that kind of person, I'd be like, "Yo, what's up?" I get the same word, but different. But if the person hears them in an aggressive way, even if I didn't say them, like, you can't be like, "Hello," and someone's like, "Oh, word," like, "You gonna do this?" Like, hello. You can't mess up with hello. So, "Hey, what's up?" or "What's up?" is like, if you're in a situation where you want shit to be cool, maybe don't say what's up. Maybe just say hello.
Yeah, I would say context is important there. Absolutely. Well, I thought there was some substance there. So obviously we're excited to have you in the podcast community. Welcome aboard, my friend.
Thanks. Yeah, and also, so like you're a guy who does a podcast. You're a stand-up comedian, but you also like sports. So
yeah,
the podcast is an opportunity for you to be funny in the context of sports. So my podcast is an opportunity for me to be, I don't want to be, I'm not like trying to be deep intentionally, but, to show people that you can be, like, I've always used humor to deal with pain. And that's what the podcast is basically going to be about. Like, how do you deal with this life that we've been given without asking? And some people appreciate it and some people don't. Some people appreciate it on Tuesday and they hate it on Thursday. And like, how do you navigate this thing? And it's, Damian is a very, very smart dude. He's also super funny. Like, I like being funny, but I love funny people more than I like being funny. And he's a funny person. If somebody can make me laugh, like, you're an ace in my book. You know what I mean?
That's fantastic. So, I like the intention behind it. So you're going to go deep. Would you say you're a fairly deep person? Are you a spiritual guy, mentally, mindset, meditation, even any of those appeal to you in your day-to-day life?
I don't meditate enough, but I definitely appreciate the value of it, and I do it whenever I can. It's not that I don't have time. It's just like when you're running throughout the day.
Right.
I mean, it only takes 5 minutes to center yourself, but sometimes, you don't. You always have 5 minutes, but sometimes you don't take those 5 minutes. So meditation's big. I'm big on being connected to something bigger than myself. So while I'm not a religious person, I'm not so arrogant to think that humans are the highest intelligence in the universe. You know what I mean?
Woo!
I think that.
I like it.
Wow.
No. I mean, hey, we could. My brother's all about that. I'm almost myself 3 years. I'm hitting 3 years in a row of daily meditation coming up here in April. So I'm pretty into that stuff as well.
You're super centered.
Well, my mom taught us visualization and stuff in sports early on. We didn't really want to do yoga and all types of eye closing activities as a 9-year-old, but when you understand visualizing a ball going in a basket or, striking someone out in your mind before you actually do it physically, and then it works, that's kind of an interesting real life example that, eventually carried over. And then, studying sports and athletes and the greats, you got Michael Jordan, Kobe, all those guys are mind masters, Bruce Lee as well. So, and
just listen, that just because you can imagine striking somebody out doesn't mean that it's going to happen every time, but the chances of it happening, if you can't see it, are close to zero.
Yeah. And so let's talk. I would love to talk to you because you've been lifting weights almost your whole life and have been, in the bodybuilding community, obviously going well above, what the normal man. I mean, looking at me, I'm a pretty feeble frame. My shoulder popped out leaning on a wall the other day, hitting on a girl. So I'm not, I'm the opposite of your alpha kind of man. I connect with dudes in a funny kind of way rather than the alpha world. But in the bodybuilding world, it's a fascinating world to me, and I also am gravitated towards weightlifting and people in that regards that can mold and shape their bodies like that. You want to talk a little bit about that community and how that initially kind of got you were attracted to that world of weightlifting?
Well, I grew right. So I remember seeing Pumping Iron when I was like, I don't know, I couldn't have been older. I couldn't have been more than like 8 or 9 years old when I first saw that. And I remember seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I was like, is this guy serious? Like, does he really look like that? I couldn't believe that a human being looked like that. And mind you, this is like, the Olympia was going and people were bodybuilding, but it was before in the 80s, like Arnold Schwarzenegger was a freak. Like a total freak. People would look at him and be like, "Yo, I don't know. Like, I don't like that guy. I don't like that guy." It makes me uncomfortable because people like with muscles, they make people uncomfortable if you're not used to it. So now that now that Americans are almost totally immune to it, it doesn't seem like a big deal. But back then, I mean, it was a big deal to look like that. So, I remember trying to sneak workouts when I was a kid in my basement. My dad had weights. He always exercised. He was never like a straight up bodybuilder, but he was always doing something active. And then it's funny because I remember the first time I visualized something and it worked. It was the first time I was gonna do 315 on the bench, and I think I was in 11th grade.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I got very strong, very fast, and then kind of stayed there for 20 years. So I was like, I said, I can do this. I laid down, I pictured it going down and how it would feel in my hands and how heavy it might feel and how I was going to get it up off my chest and how I was going to complete the rep and rack it back on the bar. And it's I'm a big fan of like, The Secret is a little annoying to me because it's so incomplete. However, if you can combine the visualization with the details of the visualization as well as the feeling that you're going to have while completing that task, like you just upped your chances, I feel like, by 1,000%. Because now you've almost lived it. Now you've almost done it. The only thing that hasn't happened is you haven't manifested it in the real world. So that's what I was doing, and I did that. And then I just, I loved working out. I loved being strong. I loved getting stronger. I liked being big. At first I liked the attention. Now it's like I'm 250 and I would love to be smaller and just be a little bit more normal than I am because I know this and I'm not like, I'm not bragging. It's actually something that I'd like to change, but I stick out. Like when I'm somewhere, I stick out. I have a shaved head and I'm 250 pounds and I'm 5'10". And it's like, it's just not, people make comments all the time and I'm kind of over it, but if I'm meeting somebody for the first time, they don't know that 1,500 times in my life somebody has said something about how big I am. And people think that because you're big, you don't mind hearing about it. Like you'd never walk up to somebody and go, "Wow, you're so short," or "Wow, you're so fat." But when you're big, people will walk up and say, "Wow, you're so big." And it's like, yeah, okay, cool, thank you. I'm George. Nice to meet you. Anything else? Like, yeah, but he's.
And that's when you say, "What's up?" I'm just kidding.
What's up, bro? You want to tangle with the kid? So I started bodybuilding. I did my first show about 4 years ago, but I was always into bodybuilding. I could just never get all the pieces together: the diet, the cardio, and the lifting. If you can get all three of those together, you're good. I always had 2 out of 3. I would diet and do cardio, or I would diet and lift, or I would lift and do cardio but eat like shit. I was never able to get all 3 pieces together. Yeah. And when I got all 3 of those together, I mean, my body really, really started to change. Wow. In a major way.
So, in fact, weightlifting was, like you alluded to a little bit ago, that was your first kind of real life experience of, okay, if I put something in my mind that I believe I can do and then I go out and do it and it happens, that's an ideal order of operations for how to manifest.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know it at the time. I was 15, so I wasn't really thinking in those terms. But I did appreciate the fact that I visualized something and it happened. And I had, I played sports when I was younger. I played basketball and I played soccer. And basketball, like soccer, I didn't mind because there was so much running. But put me in goal and I'll do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In basketball, there's no goalie. So if you wanted to play basketball, you had to run, which I hated. baseball I really liked, but I just didn't get better because I didn't practice, which is, it seems simple, but if you want to get better, you should practice, right? I wanted to hit home runs, but I never wanted to go to batting practice. So I failed at that, and then I got into football. But the mentality of the football coaches that were in my school, they were just such dicks. It was like, all right, dude, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to you when you were a little kid, but I'm not paying for it now. And I just stopped playing. I was like, forget you guys. My teammates were pissed, and that made me feel bad. But it was one of the greatest reliefs in my life to walk into the football office while all the coaches were there and say, yeah, I'm not playing for you guys anymore. And that's what I said. I didn't say I don't like football. I didn't say I don't want to play football anymore. I said I don't want to play for you guys anymore. And they were like flabbergasted. And I wanted to be like, well, maybe you shouldn't have been a dick for like 3 years in a row, and then this wouldn't have happened. They were surprised. I guess they thought it was cool, or like it was just part of the game. But I understand tough coaches, but these guys weren't Vince Lombardi. They were just assholes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So if you were to coach a football team or evoke enthusiasm or the most out of your players, what approach, what style would you go with?
My approach with myself and with people that I try and help out has always been, there's no substitute for patience and consistency.
Oh, wow.
So, is it better to put in 4 hours a day for 20 years or to put in 20 hours a day for 6 months? I don't know. I mean, I know what I've done and I know what I know works, but putting in like ridiculous hours on each day, you will burn out and you'll never get the results you're looking for because they won't add up. Things take time to develop and, results take time to manifest. So when I go to the gym, like I'm not in the gym for more than 45 minutes a day, but I've been doing it for 23 years. So all that time added up. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I would push enjoyment. I would push discipline, consistency, patience. Discipline is probably the biggest one, but I wouldn't, if some kid didn't want to play football, I wouldn't like shame him, or if he didn't want to run, I wouldn't shame him. I would try and figure out why doesn't he want to run? You know what I mean? Like what's holding him back from pushing himself?
That's good leadership right there.
Because most of the time, like, I didn't think I was worth it. Like, I didn't want to put in the effort because I didn't even think the results were available to me because I was, I had low self-esteem as a kid, which a lot of bodybuilders do. Some of us grow out of that, but a lot of them don't, which is weird because you see these guys with huge muscles and six-packs and they just look insane, but they won't make eye contact with you.
Wow.
They act like little kids. Yeah, it's very strange. So I didn't have the self-esteem as a teenager because I was still figuring out who I was as a man or trying to be as a man, and these guys just missed the mark. It's not their fault. I'm sure they were missing something in their own life, which is painful for them, but I didn't want to pay for the mistakes they had made in their life anymore. So I quit football in my senior year of high school, and which is funny because that's when the drinking really got out of control. I don't know if I quit football to drink, but it's possible.
Well, so like you brought up an interesting concept, the idea of doing 4 hours, 20 hours worth of work in 6 months versus 4 hours a day over 20 years. I'm a big, very interested in the idea of flow in sports. They call it getting in the zone. Or you could call it alignment. Do you think there's something to that the idea of when you're, because we're humans, we're mood swing, individuals that go up and down and in and out of the flow. So when you find yourself making a conscious effort to get in a good feeling space before you go about your workout or any other action in life, do you see your results? Are you a lot more efficiently and effective in that regard rather than just kind of blindly going into something without an intention or without getting yourself in that good feeling space first?
With the gym, I don't anymore. And it's funny that you mentioned that because going to the gym for me is like discipline is such an elusive concept for some people. Some people think of discipline as like, you're on punishment or you've been bad, so you have to do something you don't want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When discipline for me is really just doing what you know needs to be done before you get a chance to figure out whether or not you feel like it. Right?
Wow.
So if I sit in the car and I'm like, I don't really feel like going into the gym. Yeah, bro, I'm not going to the gym. Like, of course I don't feel like going to the gym. I feel like taking a nap, or I feel like going to get a massage, or going to Burger King, or whatever. You know what I mean? That's what I feel like doing. But with the gym, it's just so ingrained in me. I would feel weird not going. But other things that are tough, like other things that might be tough emotionally, like a confrontation or some kind of an experience at work or in a relationship that's going to be difficult, that's when I use the visualization now, because it's just something that, that's what I struggle with now. Not that I don't mind tough situations, but I find the visualization, especially with an emotional component, is so much more valuable. Like if I have to talk to something about my wife or my boss, and I want it to go a certain way, I'll visualize and feel what it's going to be like having to talk, and then I'll visualize and feel what it's going to be like to either not get what I want or to get what I want, and what would I do with that? You know what I mean? It's not, because sometimes you get what you want and you wind up feeling worse because you put somebody in a bad spot. You know what I mean?
Without question. You got some profound things to say, and we got people out there thinking all you do is meme, and you're sitting here laying. So you could be in front of a room of 200 heads spitting some genius right now, Tank.
That's the plan. You know what's funny is when ABC Nightline did the special on me, I don't know if you saw that. That was a peak moment. That was like one of those in the zone moments.
Yeah.
Which I did some visualization for, because they were coming, dude. They were coming whether I wanted them to come or not. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I was talking to her, and she said the same thing. She's like, "Wow, so this isn't like frat boy stuff where you're just like talking about boobs and butts and beer." And I was like, "No, it's not. It's not." My mission in life has become to break stereotypes, in that you can be smart and be dumb, and you can be funny and you can be serious, and you can look a certain way and be a totally different way. Like the putting people in a box thing drives me nuts.
Oh, me too. Me too.
I've always been put in a box when I was a little kid, because I was always big and I always had a shaved head and I looked scary. And every college class I took, in the beginning of the semester, nobody talked to me. And then by the end of the semester, inevitably, every class, 5 or 6 kids would go, "Yo, we thought you were the biggest dick in the beginning of the class."
It's unreal.
And it's like, okay, that's cool. Like, I understand that I look a certain way, but I love shattering stereotypes. And I love watching other people shatter stereotypes too. I probably like that more than shattering stereotypes on my own. Not that I'm like, if you're a white guy, you're not supposed to have any bad feelings about the world. But
right.
Life is tough for everybody. I don't care who you are. Life is just hard. And however hard it is for you is however hard it is for you. So whatever your basis of struggle is, you can't say that somebody's problems are more significant or bigger than somebody else's. Everyone's got their own shit,
Absolutely. Well said. And so that's interesting, because it sounds like you have a phenomenal idea of what you want. You now have a platform, over 900,000 followers. Segue into your account, Tank.Sinatra on Instagram. I mean, with that kind of a following, you really can springboard, like you just said, your mission into whatever avenues. I know you have a book coming on the way, but I mean, why not spread yourself all the way across all different kinds of platforms if you're coming from an intention as pure as the one that you just said?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people out there trying to do a lot of good. I'm just trying to be one of them. I'm not trying to be Tony Robbins, and I'm not trying to be Oprah. I'm just trying to be myself.
Yeah, you
like it, great. You know what I mean? If people are into it, great. If you're not, that's cool too. There's 7 billion people on this planet. I'm going to find the people that are into what I say. And the other thing is that I'm not saying anything that's so revolutionary, but the way I present it might resonate more with somebody than the way Tony Robbins does it, or whoever does it. You know what I mean? Definitely,
without question. And so in regards to your Instagram and how it blew up, kind of everything we've been talking about, did you go into this just for shits and gigs, and this was an outlet for you to just kind of be funny and be creative with pop culture and sports and all kinds of, everyday entertainment? Or was this something that you were very, very clear with in regards to your intention?
No, listen, I don't want to say it happened by accident, but it didn't happen on purpose either. It was just it's just like anything that people are successful at. You find something that you like doing.
Yeah.
You get good at it. You stick with it. And sometimes shit happens. Sometimes stuff doesn't happen, but sometimes things do wind up popping off. And what happened was the Fat Jewish basically took me under his Jewish wing and just got me to a point where I could grow on my own. He didn't do it on purpose either. He just kind of was, I was sending him stuff and he was reposting it and he was tagging me in the comments and I was getting followers from that and I was growing from that. And then, just kind of the growth on Instagram is exponential. If you're growing at, a certain percentage, the bigger you get, the more you're going to grow. It's like compounded interest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're doing it right. If you're not, I've seen there's accounts that I've surpassed in followings that have been the same size for 2 years since I started,
And so what do you think the difference is there? Because is it a little bit of networking as well as original content? Because,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's a puzzle to me. I mean, we're all out here figuring out how to grow our followings for the most part. And between you, Fat Jewish, and Fuck Jerry, you guys are really the main three innovators, I would say, in the whole world of memes.
Well, the Fat Jewish and Fuck Jerry have innovated in one way, in that they got in early. You know what I mean? They got on the platform early and they started doing this thing early, so that if you wanted to see memes on Instagram, there was only like 2 people you could follow.
Yeah.
And that's what wound up happening. It's funny because I saw a meme once where a guy was talking to another guy. So the guy says, if you had a time machine, where would you go? And he goes, I'd go back to 2 years ago and I'd start posting pictures with words above them on Instagram. Meaning, like, he would just get into the game early because he'd be in a totally different position financially, because you can make money off these accounts.
Yeah.
But so it's to answer your question, it's a combination of exposure, which is huge. If you're not getting reposts from bigger accounts, or you're not in the explore page, then somebody's got to find your page first to be able to follow it, obviously.
Yeah.
Secondly, the quality has to be there, meaning you can get reposted all day long by a bigger account, but if someone goes to your page and it sucks, they're not going to click follow.
Right.
And then the third, and I think most important thing for me particularly, is that I make the majority of my own content. Sometimes I'll find something that I feel like I can't improve upon, or I'll want to tag one of my friends in a post. But for the most part, if you like my content that you see on my page, you have to follow me. If you want to see it first, if you want to wait a little while, you can see it on other platforms or other pages. But you know how memes are, bro. People want to see it first. They like seeing it first. Everybody wants to be the first one to see a meme and send it to their friends, because then you become the plug. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
You become the source of the meme. So when you make them, it's like you have an advantage over somebody who just reposts. Because let's say you go to Daquan, or you go to, Girl with No Job, like you're just seeing what they think is funny. You're not seeing original content. If you like the memes that you see on my page, I'm who you have to follow to see them. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you're painted into a corner, and if you want to get out, you got to follow the tank.
Oh, hell, you gotta love that, baby. Gotta love it.
That was the worst analogy I think I've ever.
No, that was kind of smooth. I mean, no, I followed. That was smooth. And so we have different kinds of memes, obviously, but ultimately they're somewhat surrounded by pop culture and celebrities and whatnot. And in regards to sports, I find, you got the crying Michael Jordan, who still is pretty prevalent. Mark Sanchez, the butt fumble. You got the mom made pizza rolls one. So there's been some interesting sports memes. Do you think that the internet community decides what's going to go viral, or is it the thought leaders like yourself and Fat Jewish, among others, that are deciding what's going to really hit and everyone's going to love and share?
Well, it's another one of those combination things. So yeah, I mean, there's exposure, which is important, but listen, if I could pinpoint what makes something go viral, I mean, I'd be a millionaire by now. I don't know, and nobody knows. Like, who knew the Cash Me Outside girl was going to become famous overnight? You know what I mean? Bro, she's got, like, a couple of months ago, she had, like, whatever it was, a couple of hundred followers. Now she has 8 million followers.
It's bananas. It's bananas.
Like, that's unheard of. It's the first time anything like that has really happened. The Salt guy grew from like 900,000 to like, I think he's at 4 million, but she went from 0 to 8 million. And all she did was be a jerk on national television. And everyone was like, oh my God, I can't believe she said that. Like, wow, she's, first of all, she's 13. So it's insane that she'd even be on Dr. Phil for being like, you have to be really bad to be 13 and to be on Dr. Phil. You have to be a really bad kid.
True.
Right?
True.
So, what goes viral? The only time I ever watched something kind of be manufactured was, so a part of the interesting, aspect of making memes is that you get to meet people who you never would have met otherwise. So I'm in a group chat with John Mayer and a bunch of other meme makers.
Awesome.
And yeah, it's like, it's crazy. So John Mayer is like a freaking meme lover. I love comedy, So when that debate happened and Ken Bone happened, you remember that guy?
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah. Oh, you got to love Ken Bone.
He comes in the chat like a wildfire and goes, Ken Bone, find out who it is now. He's going to be the thing. Like, he knew that Ken Bone was going to become a meme, and then Ken Bone became a huge meme. So it was like, you can't really force memes. I mean, you can try, but it's really just best leaving it up to chance. Plus, it's more fun that way. It's more fun when something just happens organically or by accident, of course.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Without question. And so do you have any predictions of where the meme world is going? 'Cause I'm not going to lie. I didn't think that people would still be finding these just as funny a few years in as they did day one, month one. But I would say it's almost going the opposite direction. And now just like, whatever, I don't want to call it a trend, but you guys have literally set the bar to where everyone wants to either engage with you guys and be a part of them or become, try to become thought leaders like yourself.
Well, so memes in the way that in the format that they exist now, I hate to say it, but they are. It is probably a trend, and it's a bubble that can't last forever. However, comedy is not going anywhere,
right?
And as long as we stay ahead of the ahead of the curve as far as internet content, the internet is not going anywhere, and comedy is not going anywhere. So basically, it's up to us to find out how to best express our love for comedy on the internet. See, memes they've changed already many times. When they first started out, it's 2000 like maybe. I was trying to think the other day when I first started looking at them. It may have been like 2008 or 9 when they started with that, like the scumbag Steve and the bad luck Brian with the impact font on the bottom and top. So that was like the only form of meme for like 3 or 4 years. And then all of a sudden people started making them on Twitter, and that's the look they have now. But I'm sure video or graphics will be introduced at some point, maybe different shapes. Maybe Instagram will completely change the way that they allow you to upload pictures or format stuff. Maybe you have, video I think is big, but it's all, as long as you have a picture or an image, whether it's video or a static image, as long as you have that with words above it, below it, or on it, I mean, that's a meme to me. So in order for something to really become revolutionary, it would have to be something totally different. So I don't know where it's going to go, but I am excited. And if I accidentally make the next style of meme, great. If not, I'll just catch on to whatever's going on and try and run with that. What's happening now in the meme world is that memes are, rising and falling over the course of like a week or two, which is so funny to watch.
Because you think they had a little longer shelf life as early as a year ago?
Oh, yeah, dude. Bad Luck Brian was a meme for like 3 years.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Bro, it was all you had. You had like 10 templates. You had disappointed Asian father. You had bad luck Brian. You had scumbag Steve. You had like 10 people, and they were all. It was all. The joke was the joke. Like it wasn't the picture. It was the actual humor in the caption. So.
Do you think Kermit the Frog, Me versus Inner Me, is already come and gone?
Oh yeah.
Wow. See, that one I thought was just sensational. It was going to go on forever.
See, now you have the Italian hand meme. Have you seen that one?
Oh yeah, the Italian.
You have the Italian hand meme, and you also have the. Hold on 1 second. I actually. You have the Italian hand. And the Jaden Smith with the deep thoughts, but he's been that meme for a while, but
right.
It's just rising up again, just like the Catch Me Outside girl. I remember a year ago when that first aired, that clip made its rounds on the internet, and then it started resurfacing again recently, and I was like, oh man, not this meme again, and then it just, exploded.
It's interesting, man. Well, so what's good? I mean, I know you're busy. I'll get you out of here in a few questions, but we're jamming and I'm enjoying the conversation. And you have this book you're working on, obviously, and it's how soon is it from coming to fruition?
So we were shooting for March 20th. I don't know if that's going to happen now because we were waiting on the proof to launch the Amazon landing page. But I mean, the book is done. The book took me almost 10 years to write. And
Holy
it was
cow.
I didn't write it intentionally. I just on stuff that occurred to me while I was trying to figure out, trying to navigate the world of relationships, fitness, work, money, God, no God, travel, culture, judging, stereotypes. I was trying to figure all this shit out. And when something occurred to me that I thought was valuable, I used to email it to myself when I had like the Razor or whatever it was.
Awesome.
And once the iPhones and the Blackberries came out, I started making notes, and I did it because everyone has had a thought that they thought was the best and was going to change their life, and they said, you know what? There's no way I'm going to forget this. I'm not going to write it down. And you don't write it down, and then the thought is gone, and you never get to think that thought again.
So true.
So with that in mind, I just jotted everything down, and this book is basically a best of greatest hits of stuff, of everything that I wrote down over the course of 10 years. It's not necessarily a journal. It's more of like a chronicle of the struggles of being a quasi-adult,
That's fantastic. That sounds like it's got a lot of layers. You obviously were willing to be vulnerable and be very opinionated in your true self. In this,
yeah.
Those are the best kind of books, in my opinion. I don't know if you want to call it a tell-all, but if it's the trials and tribulations of your last decade of life, I mean, that's fantastic.
And it's not really a storybook. It's more of like, I called it self-help for the ADD generation, meaning there's no stories to sift through to get the gold. I just give you the gold. Like, I'm not going to make you sit there and listen to how I came to realize this. It's just, okay, here's what I realized. Take it how you want it and apply it to your life in whatever form you need to. Because if I had a thought that helped me overcome something in a relationship, and you want to take that same principle and apply it to work or a different relationship or how you see food, then cool. It's not like they're not specific. They're not specific like directions for every area of your life. It's more principles that I stumbled upon that I think will help people deal with everything that people struggle with. That's my hope.
That's well said, Tank. I mean, I'm very glad we had this conversation, man. I got a whole new I got a couple pieces of gold here. Some Seinfeld gold, dairy gold I'm leaving with from your 2 cents. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I appreciate having me on.
Absolutely, man. And so when's the next Think Tank podcast? You guys doing a once a week type thing?
Yeah, we're going to do record Thursday, upload Friday.
Beautiful.
And it's it's just on it's only on SoundCloud right now. Like I told you, I got to figure out how to get that thing on iTunes. So
you know who you would be great jamming with is Joe Rogan on a podcast. Now that I've gotten to know you a little bit.
That's my that's like my holy grail of appearances. That's like the ultimate. That's where I want to get the most out of everywhere. Like if Ellen called me and Joe Rogan was like, "Hey, I need you on the podcast," and Ellen was like, "Yeah, I need you on the show," I would choose Joe Rogan. And
well, I mean, I'm hanging out at the Comedy Store. He's around. I mean, if it's an organic Johnny Stockton look, I can go up and see if the time is right. You never know. I mean, no, I just know. I see it in my head. I see you guys in his studio having an unbelievable conversation. Maybe it's when the book is launched. That would be probably a great time.
You know why I like him, and it's funny that you said this before, because he's a fucking bald alpha meathead, but he's not,
brilliant.
You know, you can tell he puts a lot of thought into the way he thinks about shit. He doesn't just feel a certain way because he's always felt that way and he doesn't know how to change the way he feels. He's very deliberate about the way that he approaches certain topics, and I like that. I don't agree with him on everything, but I respect every single thing that he's ever said.
Oh, yeah. Well, like my buddy who's kind of mentoring me in comedy, who's 20 years in, he said the interesting thing about males is that we can bond on agreement, but we can also bond on conflict and disagreement, which is, which is what makes us great. It's a lot easier to get along in our side of the coin. I think the women world is a whole, oh my gosh, I'm scratching my head trying to figure out women in I'm in the swiping world, Tank. It's a heck of a day-to-day life over here in 2017.
You know what? Part of me is upset that I didn't get to experience that. And the other part of me is thank God I don't have to go through that, because I'm sure that can be an absolute nightmare for somebody who's just, you want to meet somebody. That's what I was going to say before. When, like, let's say we're trying to force a meme, that's like being set up on a date versus meeting somebody in a supermarket by accident.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Well said.
Like,
well said.
Being set up gets you on dates. If going on dates is your objective, then cool, go on dates. But if you want to meet somebody and bond, you gotta let life happen. I firmly believe that.
This guy's you got gems for days, man. Gems for days. I'm looking forward to episode 2, and I'm getting the book, baby. You better believe it.
I'll hand deliver it. There you go. LA.
Yeah, I'm in Hollywood. Yeah, you got to come out here, man. You should be taken to the mic, man. You're in New York City. Why not? I mean, you're hilarious.
I know. Dude, it's the open mics. I remember doing open mics and being like, these things suck.
Oh yeah, you can die slowly in some of them, especially if it's light outside still. Those are the best.
Well, you know what it is? It's like you and a bunch of comedians practicing your comedy, and like there's 8 people there and 7 of them are looking at their notes.
I know, it's a very interesting. I've heard, different opinions on open mics from successful comedians on the value in them. I mean, the stage time and the reps, it's just like going in the gym. You got to go in the gym and put in the work. But at the same time, the way the crowd, it's night and day from a show. It's definitely night and day.
Yeah.
But with who you are, I mean, I'm pretty sure you could probably work your way to getting on shows rather soon and not have to go the whole normal route, if you will. I don't even know that there is a set route. I really think if you're good, you're good.
But like you said, I'm not doing a show if I don't have the reps. I got to do the reps.
Yeah. But I mean, just starting with that, how are you? That's a whole 3 minutes. That's 3 minutes on the mic right there with your pops too. That's especially with your persona, how you carry yourself. You'll catch a lot of people off guard. I mean, I'm a skinny half Jew Italian with a shoulder that pops out. As I've told you, no one expects me to have these outrageous Tinder stories, that I really walk into on accident. But I do, but I'm self-deprecating. Again, that's the name of the game. I think you got to go up there and be able to put yourself down and play with the ability to look at yourself comedically. Otherwise, you're just going up there and doing something a lot of people wish they had the cojones to do.
Yeah, well, you know what I think of? I remember seeing Tupac Resurrection, and I was not a huge Tupac fan, but I remember him saying, I forget even what the context was, but he basically said, "You think because I'm black, I'm not scared of a gun?" And wow. I don't mean to sound stupid, but I remember thinking when I was young, if you live in a bad area, you're probably just not scared of a gun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I got you.
But on the flip side, it probably builds up on you and becomes so much worse day after day, knowing that you're going to have to walk down that block where those guys are with the guns. Probably is actually even worse than somebody who's never exposed to guns. So I had a million different thoughts after that. The main one being people think that just because I'm big, I think I'm invincible. I know I'm not invincible, especially in the advent of MMA. Like a little 130-pound guy could whip my ass. You know that you never underestimate anybody anymore.
It's a great way to live your life, to not judge a book by its cover. But it's for some reason it's easier said than done in our society. I certainly don't. I treat any social scenario in person the same. It's much easier, just like being honest rather than telling white lies. You don't have to think of a backstory. If you just treat the valet guy and the waiter as good as you would as one of your favorite athletes, then you don't have to change. You're just you all the time.
Exactly. Great point. There's no guessing.
Yeah.
No guessing game.
Well, Tank, man, I appreciate the time. I'll let you go, but I really look forward to, obviously more phenomenal memes and podcasts and this book, man. I'm excited for you. You got a lot. I really think, I would just say if I was in a position like yourself, man, I would go all out with trying to make a difference, and I know you are, but it's you're a very, very interesting dude with a lot of layers, man. I really appreciated hopping on the mic with you.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it too.
All right, Tank. I'll send you some. I think if I got an article or two for the SoundCloud iTunes hookup, I'll kick that to you.
Okay. Yeah. I'll try and read it. I may.
No, you should definitely get on iTunes though, because you'll have a podcast that'll be sponsored without question.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the SoundCloud thing is cool, but that iTunes thing is super cool.
There you go, cooler. Baby. Yeah, they're one and the same. I'll kick you something.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, any direction or help you can give would be obviously appreciated. Absolutely. Thanks again for the time, man. Have a great rest of the day. Good luck in that blizzard. That isn't really a blizzard, that according to you. That fake ass storm. Yeah. Thank you. All right, man. Have a good one. All right. Later. All right. Take care. Later, Tank. Now, Tank Sinatra, the famous memer, over 900,000 followers on Instagram. Very interesting dude. Very, very, very good heart. And was an enjoyable conversation. So thanks for tuning in on the Extraordinary Sports Podcast. Ta-ta one time.